Welcome to Pondering Passages. I am Curt Austin. My friend David Mullins is going to join me soon, and we are going to talk about Psalm 5. We're pondering Psalm 5 today, which is an unbelievable passage that takes us from struggle to the presence of God to hope. And so I hope that you can join us and that you can be a part of that conversation. Come back right after this short little intro and help us think through this together. We'll see you then. Welcome to Pondering Passages. I am Curt Austin, and my good friend David Mullins is right there.
I am right here. And Curt, you are looking marvelous.
It's new technology, Dave.
Fantastic.
We're stepping up the game. We're taking it to a whole new level. We're not messing around anymore.
Oh my goodness, yes.
So,
wow.
Yeah. Wake up. So anyway, we're making a new start today with Psalm number 5. Psalm number 5. And so when the writers wrote this, they said, I want to write a fifth psalm. I feel like I've written 1, 2, 3, and 4. We need one more. And
is that how they did it?
Is that not how it works? I don't know. So David and I, for those of you who are watching perhaps for the very first time, David and I, we read the same psalm every day for a week, and then we get together. We talk about that psalm. What's it sound like? How does it ring true in our lives? Or what's the disconnect for us? As we're reading it. What did we struggle with? And then we talk about it. And Dave, we both experienced this, that as we talk about it, some new insight pops up, or we're put at peace with maybe something we struggled with. And so I think that may be true with this one as well, right?
Yeah, it's the old adage, 2 heads are better than none. That's what they always say.
And that is true. That's not the adage, but what you said is just as true as the actual adage. So chapter 5, you and I were talking about this yesterday just briefly. We promised ourselves not to talk too much about these things, but you liked this psalm a lot.
I did. I really did. And as I looked deeper and spent more time with it, it was almost like layers just kind of presented themselves.
And you would give this 7 harps on the Pondering Passages harp scale of ranking a psalm?
Out of how many harps?
10.
I don't know. I
actually 7 is the perfect number, right? So is it 7 out of 7 harps?
Sure. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is for the choir director. It's a Psalm of David to be accompanied by the flute, which
I love that.
I did not bring my flute, so
isn't that cool though?
It's not. I mean, it is cool.
I really like when you have one to be accompanied by a stringed instrument, or to I kind of like that. It's like it gives you some context of that. This is not just words written on a page. This was actually a song.
I could go get my harmonica.
Oh, I need a harmonica.
I don't know.
I mean, I say that because I used to have one, and I think I gave it to my son, and I wish I hadn't.
Yeah,
I bought it at a auction when I was in 7th grade at one of my old teachers' houses, and it was an auction there, and I bought that harmonica. How many lips had been on it before I got it? I don't know, but I lived through it. Anyway,
I asked for one for Christmas one year, and nobody got it for me.
So you got your own.
Want to listen to it, so I got my own. And that's what they told me. We don't want to listen to it. Well,
I love it. Well, at least they were honest. All right, let's dive in. Oh Lord, hear me pray.
Yeah. Yes. One of the things right off the bat, verse 3, listen to my voice in the morning. This is in a section where it alternates between evening and morning. It starts out with morning, I think, in Psalm 3, and then evening, and then this is morning, and then next Psalm 6 will be evening, and it goes back and forth. I think it starts in Psalm 3. If I can find it in my Bible here. But anyway, that's one of the layers that I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah,
we
verse
as we
5 of
flip
chapter
through.
verse 5 of chapter 3 is, "I lay down and slept, and yet I
Okay.
woke up in safety."
Yes, and then 4 talks, what are we on? We're on 5, right?
We're at 5, yeah.
Yeah. So,
And chapter 4, verse 8, "In peace I will lie down and sleep."
yeah.
And
Yeah,
now
and
this
this one,
says, "Listen to my
each
voice in the
morning I
morning."
bring my request to
Mhm.
you and wait expectantly. I love that. I wait expectantly because the psalmist knows that God answers the cries of his people. And that's what he's doing. Verse 1, pay attention to my groaning.
I thought that was really fascinating because it wasn't a prayer of thanksgiving. It wasn't a prayer of praise. It's a prayer of a struggle.
Yeah.
And it sets the stage for kind of where he's going with this. You know, cry for help, pray to you, no one but you. I like that.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
that's and I hadn't noticed that before, but I'm thinking that maybe that connects with something later in the psalm. We'll have to see. I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
okay. Well, I like the idea that this could be a good morning psalm. I mean, if you're doing devotions and you're reading Psalm 5, then this would be a good one.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. And one of the other layers is it switches from this perspective of this person praying, who I think you would consider, on the side of righteousness, and then on the other side of it, those
Mhm.
who take pleasure in wickedness. And right away at verse 4, he says, God, you take no pleasure in wickedness. So all of those questions about, God causing wicked things to happen,
Hmm.
that's not the God that we serve.
Yeah, the
That's
tornado hit. Why did God do that?
yeah,
My nephew was killed in a car wreck. Why did God
yeah,
allow that? Well,
yeah.
God
He
doesn't
takes
take
no
care. He doesn't take
pleasure
pleasure.
any of
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. And cannot stand the sins of the wicked, those that perpetuate wickedness, those who cause wickedness. Therefore, the proud may not stand in your presence, for you hate all who do evil.
So I underlined verse 6 because he's kind of outlining, pride,
Yeah.
sins,
Yep.
those who do evil, and then somehow the psalmist, the Lord detests murderers and deceivers and liars,
Yeah.
and they kind of get tossed in together as. And I really spent a lot of time this week trying to think: is he saying that they're on a parallel path, that they're of parallel weight? Is there such a thing as a deceiver, a liar that rises to that level of, you're murdering the truth, I guess, but I mean, is it also so severe, or is he
I,
just painting with a large brush, painting broad
I,
strokes?
and again, I don't know what was in the head of the psalmist, but I do see how it's a question of process. How many times have some lie ended up in a murder, or, well, I'll just say a murder. Uh, Someone who murders someone's reputation,
Right.
and then all of a sudden they, can't, make a living or whatever. I mean, to me, it really highlights the importance of our integrity and what we say. We talk about gossip, we
Mhm.
talk about stuff
Mhm.
like that, and that words actually have real consequences. And I think that's something I see here. And probably what the psalmist is dealing with is someone telling lies about them.
That's really what I sensed as I was reading this, that this is again, somebody slandering this
Yeah.
person's character. And I'll tell you, maybe it's one of those things where really the psalmist sees it as equal to, what you are doing to me, you sinners, you wicked, you terrible people out there, isn't any different than trying to, murder. God
Yeah.
hates it all,
Yeah.
So I can
And
see where that could be,
and,
where they go with
and
that.
if you want to see contrast, uh, this person is bringing their, he says, listen to my voice in the morning, Lord. So their voice is bringing
Mhm.
requests. The wicked
You're right.
voice is bringing lies and deceit and perhaps even murder. So,
Yeah.
so there are contrasts all throughout this, sometimes very subtle. In fact, maybe so subtle that they're not even there. And,
I'm just making them up. And
well, sometimes you see things that the original author didn't intend, so but
yes.
maybe they did.
So in
And,
this, as I was reading this through the week, verses 6 and 7, this murder and liars, murder deceivers was really
right.
strong for me. And verse 7,
Yeah.
I loved verse 7.
Yeah.
We cannot enter into the house of God if it weren't for the fact he has this unfailing love for us.
Right. Right.
I
And
loved it.
and it goes back to verse 5. The proud may not stand in your presence,
Right?
but yet those who come because of your unfailing love, which I think by definition means you're humble enough to
Yeah.
recognize that I don't deserve to be here. I am the tax collector that says, I can't even look up to heaven. I say, Lord, have mercy on me, a
Yeah.
sinner. Uh, yeah, I love this section 7 and 8
Yeah.
especially.
Yeah,
Uh,
that I thought all of I really, as I was reading this, it was like I could resonate with this passage. This actually
yeah,
spoke to me because there are times when I don't feel like I'm worthy to be in the presence of God.
yeah,
My brain is taking me a different direction, and I shouldn't be standing in front of God. But God's love for me is unfailing, no matter how So my guess is, and I mean, if we want to make this, you bring us kind of to the end. How does this each week you kind of bring it back? So how does this then direct us? How does this help us form our own spiritual journey? And I felt like as I was reading this, it was like, okay, I am just as guilty as being the deceiver,
mm,
being the proud, being the sinful. I am I'm
yeah,
I'm right there. Even though I may be groaning to have God hear me, I still am all of these things too. And verse 7 then gives me hope that I can, despite the fact that I am all of those things, I can still stand in the presence of God. I can worship at that temple with the deepest awe, knowing that God has brought that forgiveness to me.
yeah, and that whole sense of awe, that deepest awe, is something that really I think would be helpful just to sit and soak in. But as we move on in verse 8, this is it. This is the prayer. Lead me in right paths.
Mhm.
Lead me. Make your way plain for me to follow.
Yeah, because I
Uh,
need it to be plain. I need it to be absolutely clear, because if it's up to my own will and strength, I'm just going to keep wandering around.
yeah, yeah.
Tell me.
And and so to kind of set us where we are on the map, we start out with kind of him crying out more of the righteous cry. Then we move to these wicked folks that are liars, deceivers, and perhaps murderers. Now we move back to kind of the sense of righteousness, kind of like Psalm 1 about these two
Mhm.
ways.
Yeah.
And then verse 9, we're back to these enemies, these wicked folks that cannot speak a truthful word, and their deepest desire is to destroy others. That might be where the murderer side comes in.
And 5:9, that little footnote is, the Greek version reads with lies. Their tongues are filled
Oh,
with flattery, with lies.
it,
Again, back to the lies.
but isn't that
Yeah.
close to being the same thing?
Yeah,
Flattery is just another
can be.
form of lying.
It can be.
Yeah.
The other thing I was thinking about this week as I was reading this, there probably have not been too many times in our culture, at least, where we have been exposed to the stench of death, to the
Mm,
open grave. That's a probably not as familiar a concept to us. Um,
mm.
just because
We-
death
But
is sanitized a little bit.
but but we have smelled dead things because they die in our walls. And all of a sudden, it's like, what is
Really?
that
I've
smell?
never had that.
You haven't?
Uh-uh. Never have.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
mean, if you're on a walk and there's roadkill close by, you kind of get a sense of what
It's a
that is.
summer day, hot summer day, and something's been dead for a couple of days, and you drive by it. Yeah, you get a whiff, and it's like it's not pleasant.
I tell you, when I was working at the pig farm when I was in college, at a sow died up in one of the sheds, and we didn't realize it. I mean, we had 50 pigs in a pen, so you didn't, if one went missing, you didn't really necessarily notice it. And we found it, and my job was to get it out of there.
Ooh,
And it had been there a while, and I
ooh,
was working there in the summer, and I I had to touch it. I had to hold on to a leg and pull it kind of out, and I could not get that smell off of me. I
yeah.
could not separate
That
myself. Hogs are stinky enough, but if you've had one that's been dead a few weeks,
that that story explains so much
I'm scarred, Dave. I am so scarred.
about not getting that stink off of you. It explains so much. I thought it was some sort of physical
Ooh,
problem. Oops.
careful there. Ah,
I
see,
know.
God
I
knew.
just
God
had
knew.
a
He paid you back.
problem.
Actually, you know what? That's an interesting metaphor. I mean, or an interesting phrase, that when we live in this sin, sometimes we can't get the stink off of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have spoken with flattery and with lies, and we've not been truthful, and we've been proud, and there's only one way you can get the stink off,
Yeah.
and that's to step
It's
into the presence of God.
right. And we
Ooh,
can only do so because of his unfailing love.
I'm on fire today.
So, yeah, I love the imagery. Their talk is foul, whether it's flattery or just out and out lies and deception. It's like the stench from an open grave.
Yep.
Declare them guilty. I love this. Lead me in your way. Lead them into their own traps.
Yeah.
You know, and drive them away because there are many sins, for they have rebelled against you.
Hmm.
Now, are we ready to go to verse 10, 11?
Can we please? Can we please? Can we please?
Yeah. So the last line in verse 10, for they have rebelled against you. So remember that. But let all who take what? Refuge in you.
Refuge.
Refuge. It's a
Refuge.
French word. It's a French word.
I like that it shifts to, you're hearing my groaning in the morning, my
Yeah.
prayers, and now let them sing joyful praises.
Yeah.
It goes from this groan and this to a time to praise.
Yeah. And and sometimes in movies where the movie starts and ends similarly, we call
Yeah.
that bookends. But if you look at this psalm, there's bookends here, and if you move one forward and one back, you've got him talking about the wicked in both places, about their lies and flatteries and all that. But then right in the center, and when there's something like this in scripture that's right in the center, that's a special structure. And the whole point is to focus on what's right in the center. It's like an Oreo cookie. You want
I
to
love those.
focus. I know you want to focus on the stuff in the middle. If there's no stuff in the middle, it's just so
So
disappointing.
everybody stick around at the end, because I've got a great story to tell about Oreo cookies.
All
So
right,
stick
all right.
around. You want to hear this?
So, and we'll get back to this section again, but that middle section is verse 7 and 8. Because of
Hmm.
your unfailing love, I can enter
Hmm.
into your house. I will
Yeah.
worship at your temple with deepest awe. Lead me in the right paths, O Lord, or my enemies will conquer me. Make your way plain for me to follow. That is what it's almost like pointing to if you take a look at this.
Well, and I like this because it's I'm groaning or I'm praising. Either way, I've got to get into the temple. There's
Yes.
sin, there's lying, there's murder, and these people need to get in the temple. God, you're the
Yeah.
one who's in charge of all of this stuff,
Yes.
and we find it there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that it goes straight from, the wicked folks, they rebel against you, but let all who take refuge in you rejoice.
Yeah.
Sing joyful praises
Beautiful.
forever. Spread your
Beautiful.
protection, protect them, that all who love your name may be filled with joy. For you bless the godly, O Lord. You surround them with your shield of Hesed, love, unfailing love.
And that was something
Beautiful.
that shield of love was also an image I really
Yeah,
tried to think about all week.
man.
Because a shield is a defense, right?
Yeah,
It's not an offensive tool in war. It's a defensive tool, and so it's a barrier between what's going on out there and what it is God wants for us. And I loved that. I really
yeah.
thought that was powerful.
Yeah, this is just so beautiful. Some people walk around with a shield of shame
Ah,
surrounding them, but that is not what God wants. He wants that shield of love, and I really think if we can, center into that middle section where it talks
mhm.
about, your unfailing love. It's because of your grace. Your has said that
Yeah,
we're able to come in that deepest awe that we are loved by Him, by God. uh it can be a game changer. It can completely change someone's life. So thank you, my friend, for chatting with me about
that's
this.
excellent.
On first blush, first reading through a psalm like this, it might be say, oh, that was kind of nice. But when you really dive down
Yeah.
and there's more to these layers than what we've covered. It is just amazing what the psalmists do.
We were reading this week in our small group. We were reading Psalm 139, and we were spending just time in verses 13 through 18. And somebody was raising a question about it. It's like, well, you can't take a single verse. You've got to be in part of the whole context of it. And we've
Yeah.
talked about this before. Context is
Yeah.
everything as you're reading this. But as you're reading through Psalm 5, and then next week, if you join us and you're reading through Psalm 6, I mean,
6.
it's only 10 verses. But as you're reading through that, focusing in on a verse, what do these words tell me?
Yeah.
What does God want me to hear in those words? Maybe it's just, 7 or 8 words in a single
What
verse.
what is the psalm asking of me?
Yeah, that's the
For
question,
this
right?
psalm, the thing is, for me, I think it lands on that deepest awe. What does it mean to be in deepest awe of God? What does it mean to be in
Yeah.
awe of God?
And you don't
And
have
how
to
would
be
my
in
life change
well, you
if
don't
I
have to be
was?
in the temple, right? You don't have to go
That's true. Yeah.
you don't have to go to St.
Yeah.
Paul, United Methodist Church on a Sunday
Yeah.
morning and sit there in quiet and that the presence of God, the temple is everywhere God is, right? And
Yeah.
so
Well,
maybe
Paul talks about, I believe we are the temple.
but I mean,
We're
you
the
can be
body of
anywhere
Christ. Yes.
and be in awe of God.
Yes.
What is it? What is it? My wife said this week, brilliant thing. We need to turn our attention away from crisis to Christ,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
and that whole idea that you're not looking at whatever it is that's happening. Right? The psalmist is talking about all these people that are out to get him and that are saying all these things, and instead he turns to the presence of God,
Yeah.
and he's in awe.
It'll make
He's
all the difference.
protected. All the difference. Well, Dave, thank you very much. This has been fantastic. For those of you who are following us for the first time, go to our website, ponderingpassages.com. There you can see our blog. You can see our videos, all the videos for all time. Oh, look at that. It's down at the bottom of the page. Ponderingpassages.com, and has our podcast that we're filling in slowly. And so join us and be a part of the conversation. Make comments, let us know what you think, and we will see you back here next week.
Yeah.
All right, so here's the story. So when I was in college, a good friend of mine, 3 guys all lived together in the dorm. It was a triple. It was on the corner of the dorm, and on the first floor, and it was Joel and Shane and Andrew. Now, let me preface this by saying I love Andrew to death. I love Andrew to death. He was
But
a
the other
good friend.
2
No, I love all
Much.
three of them, but this is about Andrew. And so Shane came in, and everybody had their own dresser drawers with their personal stuff in them, you know. And so Shane's mom would give him cookies and things, and she had gotten him a sleeve of or a container of grasshoppers. Do you remember those? They were kind of mint flavored Oreos. They were kind of
Yeah,
yeah. So they were
yeah.
Oreos. They were like Oreo cookies, but they kind of had a mint flavor in them. And Shane comes in, and Andrew's sitting on the fold-out couch, and Andrew's scraping out the middle filling with his teeth, scraping them out, and then sticking the cookies back together and putting them back in the package. Shane's like, "What are you doing?" He said, "It's okay. I'm saving you the cookie part." He scraped it and put it back in, and he just put the whole thing back into the cabinet.
No one will ever know. My little secret. I'll leave a little bit of the white stuff there just so it looks like maybe Nabisco messed up.
That's right. It was just they were thinner than normal. That's what the problem was. But I just thought that was just great. It was
That's
like,
funny.
and he really did think he was going to get away with it. I think, but
Dude, wow, you got a defective batch of Oreos.
that was terrible.